Hey y'all, Natalie here, and it is the first of the month and time for another vlog hack with a cherry on top. So I picked the theme this month and it's fall, y'all. I love fall, and I know it might be a little early for some of y'all, but I'm ready. So I'm ready to do some fall scrapping, and the store is so full of awesome fall products. So why not, right? So I chose this photo of my boys from last year. And I'm using the Amy Tangerine Late Afternoon collection. It's new. And I have the 6x8 paper pad. And I will just tell you, this has 36 individual papers. Every paper is different. It's so hard to decide. So you'll see me going through here. I decide I want to pick 5, and I'm going to use that punch up there to punch 5 different patterns, and I go through and it takes me a minute. So I throw in some of that orange, and I'm like, and then I end up don't using that. I use mostly like mustards and browns. I mean, we went full out fall here. So that's okay though. This is just the process, so enjoy. I also am using that Catherine Pooler stamp set. It's called Autumn. What's the name of it? Autumn is Calling. Autumn is Calling. I have the stamp set and the die because I hate fussy cutting. So there I am. I'm kind of stacking the papers up because that's how I'm going to put them on my page. And so I want to make sure that nothing clashes. I want to make sure they go well together. And the dies there are just some that I've been playing around with. It's a fun color combination. I do not use that on this layout. Those were just practicing with the stamps. So there's my final collection of papers. I took out those oranges, you can see, and I grab a cream background because it is fully autumn. The tone of the Amy Tangerine papers are cream, so I'm going with it. So I put clear gesso on my background, and I'm showing you I'm using some powdered inks and that collage medium from Tim Holtz. So I just spray my paper, and then I sprinkle the powdered inks on it. And I really like those pigments isolated, pixelated. I don't take a brush to this because I don't want to blend them. I want them to stay streaky. That's also why I'm using textured cardstock, because they fall in the little grooves and they keep the isolation of the separate colors. You'll see in the close-ups what I mean. So I just kind of scrape them on and let that dry. Going for a real grungy look here. Oh, I do sprinkle some more because I just like those pixelated, isolated. So there's a bunch of different colors in this ink pigment. And so if you don't blend them, that's what you get, those little sprinkles. And they kind of look like a spritz. And I love that. So there it is, dry. And now it matches perfectly. Sorry if it's a little grungy for you guys, but I love it. And that is the vintage distress medium, collage medium from Tim Holtz. And I'm just very sparingly using it through this cool chevron stencil, just randomly over the spots that I've already applied color. And then I'll go back through and smooth out the tops of these, because what it tended to happen when I was using my palette knife is I got a very straight line at the top of each swipe, and I don't want that. So I'm just that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of smoothing it out, making it seem a little more organic. And there we have it, let it dry. It's kind of shiny, kind of cool. We're going to cover a lot of that up with our embellishing. And so it just peeks out from around, and it's really cool. So now I'm going to use that awesome EK Success scallop punch. And you can also achieve this look with your electronic die cutting machine or a manual die, like a border die. So I actually end up doing 2 rounds of all of these papers because I need them to stretch across a 12x12 background, and they are 6x8 papers. So what I'll do is I will punch them, and I'm doing them I'm going to layer them, and I want them to kind of, what's the right word, stagger them. And so I'm not like just starting at the very edge of each one. So I'm going to cut them off, and then I'm measuring the amount of paper I have left so that I cut them all off in the same size, if that makes sense. And then I go back through and punch again. And that way I will layer them up and stagger them at the top of my page. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. So now you can see, once I measured them, it was really easy to do them all the same width so that they will stagger well. So I'm kind of just looking at how they'll look once they're staggered and on there and how I'm going to put them down. But now I need to cut a whole nother round of them. So that's what I do. Don't make you watch all that. And that's where I'm, see how I lined it up there? And now I'm going to stagger it. So that's what it's going to look like. But before we get there, we're going to work on the stamping. I think that's what we're going to do next. So I use my Tim Holtz stamping platform to do the stamping. Oh, I cut out my Amy Tangerine sweater weather sticker from the Grateful Phrases sticker sheet because that's basically going to be my title. And now we're going to get to the stamping. So I used this Autumn is Calling. I took out off of the 6 leaves. And I end up using cream cardstock because I don't want a white cardstock to contrast with everything. So I used that color wheel. It's pigment ink. So pigment ink is like Distress Oxides or pigment ink. When you have pigment ink, it takes longer to dry. So what you'll see me do here is I am going to stamp each image twice, but I'm going to ink up my stamp and I'm going to set it down and I'm going to give it a minute to kind of soak into the page before I lift it up and apply my next layer. I'm also going to let the ink dry before I apply the next layer because the way these inks are, they're chalky and they give a really gorgeous depth of color, but you do need to let them dry first. And 2 layers is good, but again, dry between each layer. You'll see what I mean here. And I do apply some pressure. Don't apply too much pressure because it will smear or kind of smush down your stamp a little much. But I do that with one of the red ones. But they're all layered up at the end, so it doesn't really matter that much. But as you can see, especially with that one there in the middle, I do need to apply a second layer. So I let them dry and apply a second layer. Absolutely gorgeous. So now I go in with some reds and some browns and do 2, and you can see the reds, I kind of pressed too hard is what happened there, but that's okay. Now I'm going to do an embossed bit as well. So I use my Versamark embossing ink and I use copper metallic, I think is what it's called, from Wow Embossing, and it's this really gorgeous copper glitter embossing powder. And I love embossing powder. It just gives an extra level of like awesome to your page, but also it lasts forever. So like you can splurge on a little can of embossing powder because you see I'll like cover all of these stamps with it, but then I put so much back into the container, like it's almost like I hardly used any at all. So I love embossing. And I love glitter. So that's probably why I love embossing, because it's a super good way to use glitter without making a giant mess, because you melt it and it's sticky and then it doesn't get all over your page. And of course, I'm going to let you watch the embossing because that's the most satisfying part of all of this. So while we're watching this, I will say down below, I have my blog linked. There's a blog hop going on. If you comment on all 5 blogs, you'll be entered for a chance to win a $10 credit to the store. I also have an affiliate link down below if you want to go shop and buy some of your own new fall products. There's also tons of Christmas in the store already, if you're into that sort of thing. And now we're going to start assembling. So I'm going to adhere down all of my layers. I'm going to start with the bottommost. And I could have added some sewing, but really you would have only been able to see it on the top bit. So I kind of just opted out of that option this time. So I match up the die cut bit, and then I will trim off the excess, obviously, that are hanging off the pages. So I'm going to stagger that. You see, put it between the other 2 scallops and do that all the way up. There we have it. I didn't even ink those up. There's already so much going on. I didn't feel the need for that. If they blend in a little into one another, I'm okay with it. Inking in them would just kind of make them stand out. So I'm going to floof them, if that's a professional term. Floofing them up, giving texture, bringing them off the page. Because I'm going to tuck those die cut leaves into the little crevices up there. So that's how I'm going to have my photo and where I'm going to put my title. So now I'm going to kind of group my leaves. So I basically just chose usually about 3 leaves, sometimes 2. And then I grouped them in different colors and usually kept a glitter leaf in each bit. That brown one falls to the depths under my desk and I'm unable to retrieve it. It is a true loss, unfortunately. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So I'm really liking how this is looking, but I need more splatters. So I pull out a couple of sprays from my collection. I have a mustard yellow there. And then I'll also come in with this mauve color, which is really brown, but it leaves this like purple blob fell out on the bottom. And so I clean that up and I'll end up hiding that later on with a sticker because purple wasn't really a color on this layout. Although there are some beautiful purple papers in the late afternoon collection. So now I'm tucking. I'm using my new Vogue adhesive and I'm tucking, and you can see I lost that brown leaf and I went under to find it and it just wasn't happening. So, oh no, I left it in here. It's too late. I've already done 10 minutes of voiceover. We're just gonna have to sit and suffer. You can fast forward. There we go, I'm back. I'm like, oh, that brown leaf is lost. So now we're adding in the yellow, and basically, yeah, well, you can see I'm just tucking them in under the papers. I'll leave that one at the top, and I'll even probably let that stick out of my page protector. I don't mind the little bits hanging out above the top. I love the added interest and texture here. That was kind of like a blank spot, so I liked how those leaves covered up that like white area that I had left there. Oh, because we didn't have enough pattern on the page already, I decided to back the photos with patterned paper as well. You know, I joke because I know a lot of times when we look on Instagram and the other places we look for inspiration, we see a lot of white background and stuff. And I do have some blank space here, but I just love pattern and color, and I just can't stop myself, y'all. I am who I am. So, yep, there's more pattern, and I like the way it looks. I think it looks cool, so I hope you do too. So I lay that down, and plus, like, all those papers under the photo just gives another bit of texture to the page. It pops it up a little bit, even though I didn't use any foam adhesive or anything. So I add more leaves down at the bottom, and then I go to the Grateful Phrases sticker sheet, which they are kind of like 3D a little bit, and I pick that floral. And then I also, so the floral does have a white outline. I know I said earlier I was trying to keep white off the page, but those flowers have a white outline, so I have to embrace it and I have to go with it. So I make sure to include other elements from that sheet amongst my page, kind of in a visual triangle, so that the white outline around that sticker doesn't look out of place. So you'll see me add another white outline leaf up at the top left and down at the bottom, so it kind of creates that visual triangle that we tend to look for in design. And so then that white outline doesn't really look out of place. I also add sprinkle around a few like heart. Oh, that's a leaf, but I do sprinkle hearts around as well. Yeah, and I just had fun embellishing. There that is. So it just kind of brings in the white outline, so it's intentional in the design. And then at the end here, as if it wasn't enough going on this page, I added some sequins. So I just pulled some from my stash that were like a bronzy color that worked really well. So I'm super happy with how this page turned out. It's a lot, but I love it. And I hope you're inspired to create something autumnal as well. I know it's still early and it's probably still hot where you are, but it's time. If we scrap it, it will come, right? So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Please give me a like and a follow. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll link down below with the blog links and my affiliate link for the store. If you need to pick anything up, I'd appreciate if you'd use that. And thanks for watching, y'all. Y'all have a great day. Bye.